Welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's jump right in and talk about a huge, widespread problem in education and clinical training. You definitely know the one. Most lesson plans out there are just a running list of topics to cover. We've all seen them, right? Maybe we've even written a few ourselves. But a real lesson plan isn't just an agenda. It's a blueprint. And if your blueprint is flawed on paper, well, whatever you end up building is going to be flawed in practice.
Think about it like this. Imagine a brilliant, highly skilled surgeon who walks into an operating room and just starts performing the surgery they're personally best at, completely ignoring what the actual patient on the table needs. Crazy, right? No way you'd do that. Well, starting your teaching with your content instead of your learners' outcomes is exactly the same thing. It is literally the educational equivalent of operating on the wrong patient. You've got to plan for what they need to do, not just what you want to say.
So the crucial point here is making this major mindset shift. Take a look at these two questions. If you start with what do I want to cover, you're heading straight into a dead end with passive, bored learners who are going to retain almost nothing. But if you start with what do I want them to do, it opens up this completely engaged environment where students actively apply knowledge. And here's a fun little meta twist. I'm actually using this exact blueprint to structure today's explainer, ensuring we get into some serious depth, but in a way that is very easy to remember.
Here is exactly how we're going to build this blueprint together today. 1. The wrong question. 2. Pouring the foundation. 3. The 6-column blueprint. 4. Building the rows. 5. The alignment check. And finally 6. Blueprint breakers. Let's get to it.
Section 1. The wrong question. Content versus outcome. As we just touched on, content-first teaching inevitably leads to passive learners because it's built entirely around the teacher's expertise, not the learner's actual needs. Let's look at how to flip that and start the right way.
Section 2. Pouring the foundation. Before you write anything, look, you literally cannot build a house without a solid foundation, and you absolutely cannot start writing learning outcomes in a vacuum. Before you write a single word, you've got some prep work to do.
You must define these 4 prerequisites first. First up, your topic. Be highly specific. Don't just say something broad like oncology. Narrow it down to neutropenic sepsis in a patient post-chemo. Second, your setting. Know your physical and digital limits. Are you online, at the bedside, in a sim lab? Third, your learners. You've got to calibrate to their actual experience level, not some imagined perfect average student. And fourth, duration. Be honest here. A 30-minute session has real limits. If you skip these 4 steps, your outcomes are just going to be completely disconnected from reality.
Which brings us to Section 3, the 6-column blueprint, the core framework. Honestly, this is the absolute star of today's explainer, the structure that's going to change how you teach forever.
Here it is, the whole shebang. 6 columns, 1 row per learning outcome. Now think about what sits right there in column 1, the SMART outcome. The outcome always comes first, not your slick slides, not your group activities. Every single other column on this table, the domain, the level, what you do as the educator, what the learner actively does, and the assessment, they only exist to serve that one specific outcome. Now for the really fun part. Section 4, building the rows, thinking, doing, and feeling. We're going to progressively build out this table using a highly specific clinical example, a 30-minute online session on neutropenic sepsis, specifically tailored for third-year medical students. For our very first row, we need to target the cognitive domain, which is all about thinking and knowledge. To do this, we use Bloom's taxonomy. Now, because our example uses third-year students who have literally never seen this specific condition before, we have to start, honestly, at the remember level. I mean, they can't treat what they can't even recognize, right?
And this brilliantly illustrates how the whole row comes together like a puzzle. The outcome is identify features. The verb is identify. It falls in the cognitive domain, down at the remember level. The educator activity is presenting a clinical case and running a live poll. The learner activity? They're actively responding to that poll. And the assessment is a multiple-choice poll testing exactly that. Every single column connects straight back to the verb identify. That is perfect constructive alignment in action. For our second row, we want to move 1 rung up the ladder to the understand level of Bloom's taxonomy. This ties in really nicely to Miller's pyramid of clinical competence, moving us from just thinking to actively doing. Now keep in mind, in a 30-minute online session, getting students to knows how, where they can verbally walk you through the management, is our honest ceiling. We simply can't do a physical shows how simulation through a computer screen in half an hour.
Looking at our second row, the outcome is now outline steps.
We're still in the cognitive domain, but we've escalated up to understand. And notice how the activities escalate with it. The educator pauses the clinical case, the learners have to actively type the next management steps into the chat, and the assessment is a short answer listing those exact steps. This directly mirrors the sequential reasoning they're going to need when they're actually on the ward.
But here's the catch, and it's a big one. A student can know every single management step perfectly and still not act fast enough on the ward. Why? Because knowledge tells them what to do, but attitude determines whether they actually do it. This is a powerful realization, and it pivots us directly into the third, often entirely skipped, row of lesson planning. To create real clinical urgency, we use Krathwell's taxonomy, which deals with the affective domain. See, this outcome isn't about thinking or doing, it's about feeling. We're aiming for the valuing level to ensure our students genuinely believe and internalize that a delay in treatment can literally cost someone their life.
With our table fully completed, the third row outcome is articulate harm in the affective domain at the valuing level. Look at the teaching activities here. The educator shares a real, sobering patient outcome and just gives them a minute of pure silence. The learner reflects, and the assessment is a written prompt about what they will personally do differently. These affective learning activities, like silence and deep reflection, are exactly what cement professional commitment.
Okay, but before you actually teach, you have to inspect the house you just built. Section 5, the ultimate alignment check, inspecting the house.
Think of this as checking the plumbing and the wiring of your newly built house. First, read horizontally across every single row. Do all the columns point to the exact same destination? Does your assessment actually test with the outcome promised in column 1? Then, read vertically. Do the outcomes and activities build logically in complexity as you move down the rows? You want to catch these leaks on paper long before the actual day of the session.
Finally, Section 6, 5 lesson plan breakers, common mistakes to avoid. These are the everyday mistakes that so easily break most lesson plans. But the good news is, they're incredibly simple to fix once you know how to spot them. Watch out for these broken links. 1. Vague verbs like understand or appreciate. Just ban them entirely. Use active verbs you can actually measure. 2. The outcome level doesn't match the learner's actual experience level. 3. Passive learner activities. Just watching or listening isn't enough. They need to do something. 4. Misaligned assessments that test the wrong thing entirely. And 5. Didactic lecturing as your only method. Active thinking is an absolute requirement.
When you use this 6-column blueprint and run that final alignment check, you're going to feel an incredible difference between a session designed around your own content and a session intelligently designed around your learners' needs. It goes deep, but it remains very easy to remember. And trust me, your learners will feel it too. Never go back to the old content-first way of planning. Plan like it matters, teach like it matters, because for sure, it does. So I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought. The golden rule I really hope you apply immediately to your own teaching. After your very next session, what is the one thing your learners will do differently tomorrow?